Welcome back to NM Adventure and Tales. Today I'm going to be reading the section titled Some Weird New Mexico Tales. And this can be found in the book Santa Fe Tales and More by Howard Bryan. So shall we begin? And again, if you are new to the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. Here we go. This story is titled The Midgets and the Giant. Some Socorro County ranchers in the 1880s claimed that a race of midgets, human beings less than 3 feet tall, inhabited remote areas of the San Mateo Mountains. Upon occasion, they said, they would get glimpses of these little people scampering up and down the mountainside and leaping from rock to rock. At about that same time, some ranchers farther south claimed that a giant of a man was seen occasionally roaming through the San Andreas Mountains. Dr. W. T. Strachan of Albuquerque reported in 1866 that while prospecting on the southwest slopes of the nearby Sandia Mountains, he climbed into a small opening in some rocks and found himself in a large cave. In the cave, he said, he found the skeleton of a giant of a man. Strachan said he picked up one of the large bones and carried it to Albuquerque, where medical examiners pronounced it to be the first phalanx of the little finger of a man who must have been at least 40 feet tall, 9 feet across the shoulders, and weighed about 3,600 pounds. The Albuquerque man took the giant's little finger to Santa Fe and displayed it in Frank Green's El Dorado Saloon, where it was viewed by hundreds of curious Santa Fe residents. The New Mexican at Santa Fe reported on May 18th, 1866, that Strachan was a gentleman of the strictest veracity, since he was a member of the New Mexico legislature. And what do you guys know? They're always talking about giants being alive in them days, right? And just a quick little something to share with you, something I heard from an old Indian friend of mine. He told me that the reason why Native Americans would pick up their hand and show their palm to approaching visitors, right? And then they would say, "How?" While they would expect the other person to do the same. And the reason was so that they could see their palm and count the fingers on the hand. Because it is said, giants have 6 fingers. Anyways, shall we get on? Here's another story. This one's titled Early UFO Sightings. Some residents of Galisteo Junction, now the village of Lamy, south of Santa Fe, reported in 1880 that they saw a large balloon-like airship pass over the community and that it appeared to be filled with foreigners who were having a loud party. Their account was published in the Daily New Mexican at Santa Fe on March 28, 1880. And according to the article, the telegraph operator at Galisteo Junction and 2 or 3 friends were taking a short walk on the night of March 26th when they were startled by the sounds of voices above them. Looking up, they saw a large, balloon-like object sailing in from the west. The article said, As it rapidly approached, the voices became more distinct but were entirely unintelligible. Loud shouts in a language unknown to any of the party were constantly given, evidently with a desire to attract attention. The air machine appeared to be entirely under the control of the occupants and appeared to be guided by a large, fan like apparatus. The party seemed to be enjoying themselves as laughter and occasional strains of music were heard. The observers said the balloon was monstrous in size, was in the shape of a fish, and decorated with fanciful and elegant characters, while the car, as near as could be determined, contained 8 or 10 persons. The article continued. Another peculiar feature of the air machine was that the occupants could evidently sail it at any height. As soon as passing over the junction, it assumed a great height and moved off very rapidly toward the east. The observers claimed that several objects were dropped from the airship, including a flower, a flying slip of paper containing characters similar to those found on Japanese tea chests, and an earthenware cup of peculiar workmanship. These, they said, were quickly purchased by a curio collector who believed the balloon came from Asia. The Albuquerque Daily Citizen, on September 5th, 1891, published a letter from Captain A.M. Swan of Albuquerque, telling of some strange airships he claimed to have seen 2 nights before while visiting at Coyote Springs in the Manzano Mountain foothills east of the city. Swan wrote that he saw the phenomenon on the evening of September 3rd while sitting with L.D. Dodson in front of Ed Proper's house at the Springs. And then it began at about 8 o'clock when a brilliant light appeared over the Manzano Mountains and mounted rapidly into the sky. His letter to the newspaper makes it rather difficult to visualize what Swan was describing. As the light, mounted rapidly into the horizon, we soon discovered what appeared to be a bright star following it. But as it neared our point of observation, we found that it was connected with the larger body. The singular thing, however, was the fact that what appeared to be a series of electric arc lights constituted a straight base line that was, to our view, many feet long. From near, but not quite at each end, was apparently an elongated half-circle composed of the same dim lights. From the apex of this circle there appeared to be a long rod, covered with dim lights to the outer end, where appeared a brilliant light. This pole, or whatever it was, seemed to be under intelligent direction, and to be used as a rudder or steering apparatus. The phenomenon was moving in the face of the wind, and would frequently tack in the same way that ships tack when running in the eye of the wind. Swan wrote that he observed this strange sight for more than an hour, at which time a similar phenomenon appeared from the southwest, and the two began to approach each other at a quite rapid speed. But that clouds obscured his vision when the two began to meet. He theorized that the two objects were some kind of aerial ships under the control of men skilled in their management. The Citizen published Swan's letter under headlines reading, "Strange Mid-Air Ships, Wonderful Effect of Coyote Water on Captain Swan." Ain't that something? And here's one more story that I'm going to read, and it's titled Strange Animal Tales. Here we go. The New Mexican at Santa Fe reported in 1869 that a giant snake was killing and eating cattle on George Martin's ranch at Cerrillos. south of the city. It is described as being 12 feet in length, about 5 inches between the eyes, and of a dark color. The newspaper reported on August 17th that it possessed of immense strength, was proven by its killing a 2-year-old steer a short time since by a single blow with its tail, and it has, during the present summer, killed and swallowed whole a number of calves belonging to Mr. Martin. The article said that the powerful serpent attacked its victims in a most unusual manner, explaining, "It entwines its head in the tall grass in such a manner as to get a hold, and from this position throws its tail and body towards its prey with terrible force. The resulting concussion sometimes caused the victim to break up into pieces," the article claimed. It concluded, "These facts are of such a strange nature that we should feel delicate about giving them publicly were it not that they are vouched for by the best authority." Huh. And here's another story. 2 Albuquerque hunters claimed in 1885 that they had captured a curious animal known as a prox during a hunting trip in the Sandia Mountains east of the city. The hunters, Thomas Isherwood and Sam Bagnall, told newspapers that the prox was an animal that had rarely been seen and, with one exception, had never been taken alive. The prox, according to the hunters, was unusual in having the legs on one side much shorter than those on the other side, a peculiarity which enables it to run around hillsides with such great rapidity that it is a thing next to impossible to overtake it. Isherwood, however, said he conceived the idea of heading off the prox and turning it around so that the shorter legs would come off on the downhill side. The plan worked perfectly, he said, for no sooner was the prox turned around than it rolled over and right into a bag Bagnall was holding at the foot of the hill. The hunters said that the only other prox taken alive was one that had been captured by a member of the U.S. 13th Infantry and which was described in the Smithsonian Report of 1875. Wow, ain't that something? A prox. Never heard of those. And you know what? Let's go ahead and read one more story because this one sounds interesting. This one's titled, "The Longest and Deadliest Prize Fight." Shall we? Here we go. A Colorado newspaper correspondent, while traveling through New Mexico in the summer of 1868, claimed that he witnessed what might rank as the longest and most brutal prize fight in history. The strictly private bout was said to have occurred before a large crowd in an open field near Albuquerque. Charles Johnson, a correspondent for the Denver News, wrote that he was traveling north through New Mexico when he met a large group of men on the road about 35 miles from Albuquerque. Recognizing one of the men, he asked what was going on, and the man replied, after some hesitation, that they were staging a hush-hush prize fight between a man identified only as Jack and a Colorado fighter identified only as Duffy. Jack had already arrived on the scene and was sitting in a carriage, waiting for Duffy to make an appearance. Johnson wrote, and Duffy soon arrived to begin the match. The bets were running high and the stakes were estimated at $5,000. Here is how the Denver Newsman described the prize fight, which he said occurred on June 28, 1868. They fought 185 rounds, occupying 6 hours and 19 minutes. The left side of Duffy's head was fearfully swollen, his left eye closed, his right eye nearly so. 2 ribs broken, and his left arm useless. Jack's head was all cut to pieces. He was totally blind the last 2 rounds. His nose knocked on the left side of his face, 3 teeth knocked out, 2 ribs broken, and his left arm useless. He presented a horrible appearance. He died 10 minutes after the fight was over. Duffy was unable to walk, the newsman wrote, and had to be carried from the field. I should not have written this, Johnson wrote, adding that he was prompted to do so only because one of the participants died and the other had a Colorado background. The New Mexican, which republished the Denver News article on July 21, 1868, noted that the Denver writer had said that the prize fight occurred on the road 35 miles from Albuquerque, but failed to say whether it was north or south of Albuquerque. But the newspaper noted that some Santa Fe residents returning home from Albuquerque had noticed a trampled and blood-stained field 35 miles north of Albuquerque. Well, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed these tales. These are tales from New Mexico. And again, any other tales in the future that I share will all be pertaining to the enchanting state of New Mexico. Y'all have a great day and take care.